By the way, black men have been put in prison before for far, far less.
One of the early police reports from the scene described some fighting, that he resisted arrest. Have you seen any evidence that has been borne out? Obviously, we've seen the videos from surveillance cameras and Darnella Frazier's, but we haven't seen anything that would suggest any resistance. Have you seen any at all in any of the evidence you've seen?
The question is whether I have seen evidence that George Floyd resisted arrest in some form. I have not seen any evidence to show that, no. I have not seen any evidence beyond what you've seen.
And the other question is a $20 counterfeit bill, I've been told by sources, wouldn't even get you booked into jail right now because of COVID-19. Can you explain the heavy presence at that specific grocery store at that specific time, why police felt so compelled to keep that quote-unquote suspect there?
The question was, it is, and I'll try to repeat what you said, it seems that a counterfeit bill would not require such heavy police presence, and why was there such heavy police presence there at the time? And no, I do not know. I cannot speak to that.
When can we expect to see the body camera footage from the officers who were involved? When will that be released publicly?
I'd like to release it as soon as is possible, while not compromising the investigation, but more importantly, the charge that I do hope will come forward.
Who makes that decision? Is that up to Chief Rondo or BCA?
The investigation itself is in the hands of the BCA right now, and actually there are other investigative bodies as well, the FBI being one of them. We're looking at the legal logistics of how exactly that would work, but again, we want to be as transparent as possible. There's every reason to provide the public with the truth. There's also every reason to make sure that this investigation takes place in a way where we can get to a charging decision as soon as possible.
You mentioned you were calling on local authorities to charge the officer. Are you taking a position on how federal investigators should handle their portion of this?
The question was, so I'm calling on local authorities to make a decision and to come forward with a charge of the arresting officer. The question is whether I'm asking federal authorities to do the same. My understanding is that the charging decision lies with the Hennepin County attorney. To the extent that I'm wrong, and there is a charging decision that also lies with other bodies of government, yeah, I'm calling on that too.
Investigation, but surely you're under pressure and you must have a preference about that.
It is a fair question. The question was, what are we talking about in time? Are we talking about 3 days, 2 weeks? Michelle, to the extent I could give you an answer on that, I would. I do not know. I would like to see that footage released as soon as possible. If we could do so in a way where we could ensure that investigation was not compromised, the charging decision was moved forward with in the very near future, I'd do it right away.
And are you confident that Mike Freeman, given how closely Hennepin County prosecutors work with the police and the recent history in prosecuting the MPD, are you confident that that decision will withstand scrutiny?
So the question was, withstand scrutiny of who?
Can you be unbiased in making a decision about whether Minneapolis police officers should be prosecuted criminally?
So the question was whether we can be confident that the Hennepin County attorney can not have a bias in making a decision about this particular case. I think we've seen a very long history in this country of charging decisions being made that did not do justice to the victims, especially when the potential charging decision was against a law enforcement individual, and even more so when that law enforcement officer was white and the victim was black. You know, I've stated what I want to see. I am very hopeful that the evidence will be reviewed and that a charging decision will not just be made, but there is a decision specifically, there is a decision to charge. I'm not going to comment further than that.
Mayor, do you know if any of the 4 officers gave statements before they were fired, internal statements at the very least, before they were fired yesterday?
I do not.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on how you made your decision that this man should be charged? I mean, was there something, is it something that's in the public domain that you saw? Is it something that everyone's seen, or do you have privy to more information than we have?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give it to you straight up. So the question was, can I elaborate a little bit more on my belief that the arresting officer should be charged? And yes, we watched for 5 whole excruciating minutes as a white officer firmly pressed his knee into the neck of an unarmed, handcuffed black man. I saw no threat. I saw nothing that would signal that this kind of force was necessary. By the way, that particular technique that was used is not authorized by the MPD. It is not something that officers are trained in on, and should not be used, period. And so, in so many of these horrible instances in which law enforcement tragically kills a member of our community, we are talking about split-second decisions. In so many of these instances, we are talking about 4 or 5 or 6 seconds, sometimes less, where a decision was made that tragically killed somebody and impacted a whole community. We are not talking about a split-second decision that was made incorrectly. There's somewhere around 300 seconds in those 5 minutes, every one of which the officer could have turned back, every second of which he could have removed his knee from George Floyd's neck, every one of which he could have listened to community around him clearly saying that he needed to stop. Every one of which you heard George Floyd himself articulating the pain he was feeling, an inability to breathe. I can't see coming to a different answer there. And I think it's incumbent on all of us to say that. Thank you.
Real quickly, have you seen the body camera footage yourself?
No, I have not yet.
Have you spoken to any of the officers who responded?
When did you find out the circumstances were different than that initial news release?